With all the demands on your time and life, work, family, children, spouse, friends, how important is balance and peace at the core? That's exactly what we're talking about today on Mindful Manifesting. You're listening to Ariana Rollins. I have come to know at my core how balance and peace are not side benefits, but they're accelerators of our well-being, our success, and our spiritual growth. Where balance and inner peace create lasting success. And that's all that I'm about. Because yes, we can make quick changes, but more often than not, we revert back to our patterns because they're familiar and comfortable. And when we get into a moment of stress, that's what we do. We go back to what's known. And I want to share a deeply personal story, how an experience this summer taught me this lesson in a very real way. But before we dive into that, if you would like to kickstart your manifesting with a little guided meditation and a wonderful worksheet, go to mindfulachiever.com and opt in for Kickstart Your Manifesting Journey. All right. This past June, I had what people call a wake-up call, and that bugs me, that term. First, I came down with an infection in my body that I had no idea I had. The only way that I discovered I had an infection was that I had a serious fall and developed a concussion. And then it was diagnosed I had an infection in an organ and a system in my body. Now, I believe life gives us messages when we have something that big happen to us, whether it's a breakup, a death, an accident, a shock in our health, that those big things are markers. They're markers in our life, and we will look back at that moment and see what shifted. And that, for me, looking back, I can see what was really happening. I had allowed my life to get seriously out of balance. Work had become just everything that I was thinking about, and there wasn't a lot of balance. And no pun intended, after falling, I could see the truth. I had been striving, pushing myself, and doing things that, in a way, that weren't really aligned. They weren't comfortable. And that way of living was pulling me further and further away from my center. Sometimes we can justify our striving, can't we? We tell ourselves we just have to do this, what we have to do to get through the day. But over time, that way of living drains us. It creates stress in the body. We lack harmony and peace in our mind. And it truly takes us away from that inner peacefulness that feels so good. I mean, it's something that we can feel at the end of a meditation, right? Or maybe working out really hard and our body's tired and we feel that thing that we've pushed ourselves, like little children do when they run. So that fall and the nearly 3 months of recuperation that followed became a sacred time for me. It slowed me down enough to hear what was really happening inside. And the lessons that came through were crystal clear. I will always hold that peace within myself. I will not let it go. Nothing and no one is worth losing that sacred peace. That realization changed me. Balance and peace are not optional extras. They're not the side benefits. They are their very foundation for health, for success, and for living aligned with who we truly are. And that's why I want to bring them forward to you as the foundations of my work. And let me just do a little PS. All that striving of what I was, trying to get done, and we're all looking to get more clients, make more money, grow our business, grow our impact. All of that striving did not get me any further than where I am now in what happened during my recovery in July and August. I had the greatest income months I think I've ever had. And so we think that the doing is going to further our success and further our growth, but it is in the being. It is in our being that actually moves mountains and changes our life in radical ways. So that experience showed me something vital. When we lose balance, we lose ourselves. And when we lose peace, we lose our power. It's easy to think of balance and peace as things we'll go get after we've worked hard enough, after we've hit the goals, after the stress eases. But I learned the opposite. Balance and peace are not what come later. They are what makes everything else possible. That's why I began to look at what I call the foundations. These are the essential states of being that accelerate growth. They bring resilience, which, boy, do we need resilience now on the planet. And it creates success that actually lasts and feels good. So there's 6 foundations, and I want to walk you through each one. And as you listen, I invite you, if it feels aligned, to reflect on your own life. Consider some of these questions. Where am I leaning out of balance? Where could I invite in more peace? Where could I feel more peace? What might shift if I let these foundations be integrated, if I let these foundations support me? Because think about it. The foundations of a building are what enables the structure of a very tall building, like even the Eiffel Tower or the buildings in New York City. They need a very stable foundation to grow tall. We're the same way. We need that too, but we often don't think of it like that, do we? So let's talk about the first, what I think is the most vital foundation, balance. Balance is the ground we walk on. Without it, life feels wobbly. Our minds race. Our emotions go up and down. They scatter. We can stay in negative moods. And our bodies suffer over time. With balance, everything steadies. We see clearly, we move with confidence, and growth accelerates for us. Balance isn't something you add on later, it's a starting point. And I remember when I was getting dizzy, when the infection had become really intense, I didn't know why I was getting dizzy. That was the first time in my life that happened. But I tell you, being able to, once I healed the concussion, once my body healed of the infection, to walk without feeling I'm going to fall over, to walk with balance, boy, was that sacred. Never want to be without balance. Second foundation, peace. Peace is not about escaping the world or sitting in meditative stillness all day. Peace is power. It's the inner strength that lets us face challenges without being knocked over by them. Peace gives us clarity. It helps us act wisely for our good and for the good of all. And it brings a calm confidence that accelerates every result. Think about it for yourself. Do you prefer to be around someone who is anxious, stressed, or do you prefer to be around someone who feels peaceful, calm? Answer's obvious, right? So that which supports your life those intentions you want to manifest, do you think they're going to be drawn to peacefulness or anxiety and stress? Answer's self-evident, right? Okay, foundation number 3, integrity. Integrity is living true to yourself. And this is an interesting way to think about it. It's where you're aligning your outer actions with your inner truth. You know what's right for you. And the actions come naturally. And you're making the right choices. When we step out of integrity, even in small ways, we feel it. But when we stand in it, we carry a strength that others can feel. They can count on us. Integrity keeps our path clear and our energy undivided. It's so easy to get out of integrity. You know, we say we're going to do something over the weekend, and then we want to watch a movie instead. Or a friend calls and we say, yeah, let's go out to dinner. And we didn't do that thing by the time Sunday rolls around, and we start Monday with the burden. Oh, we didn't get that done. We're out of integrity. And that grows and affects our balance and our peace. No question, no doubt. Number 4, alignment. Foundation number 4. Alignment means our thoughts, emotions, and actions are moving in the same direction toward our higher nature. In one of the examples of when I first started learning cybernetic transposition, which I bring some of that into my own work, there is this leadership training, and actually can be done within corporations and entrepreneurs if they have more than one person running the business. And most companies run kind of like wild horses, where there is someone who wants this result and another person wants that result, and everybody has a different agenda or different purpose, different intention. Well, alignment enables all of those wild horses to be focused in one direction. And you know that when everything is focused in one direction, there is power. There is a lot of power. Think of the horses pulling a heavy carriage. If they were all pulling in different directions, everything would stop. That's kind of like our life too, and businesses. So when we're aligned, things flow. Resistance drops away. Synchronicities appear. And oh my gosh, I could do a whole podcast on synchronicities. Just one happened this morning. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was looking for these binoculars because I live on this beautiful nature preserve and I can see animals like walking by, and I've lost these binoculars for I think 7 years. Funny, right? It's in the bottom of a backpack. Well, you'd think, yes, that makes sense. Binoculars, it's your hiking backpack. Made sense when I put it there, but I didn't see it, right? So when resistance drops away, it allows the synchronicities appear, and it feels like life is working with us and not against us. Alignment is where our manifesting power multiplies. 5th foundation, transformation. Now, emotions are not our enemies. Emotions are powerful manifesting forces. But our lower emotions, fear, anger, and doubt, they act more like those wild horses going in multiple directions. But these lower emotions, they're raw energy. And when we learn to transmute them, to lift them into higher creative force, they actually fuel our growth. Instead of being weighed down by them, negative emotions, and guilting ourselves like we shouldn't feel that way, but we do. We transform them, and we can use them as stepping stones towards spiritual expansion and greater success in our life, because we're taking that energy and we're pouring it, we're focusing it into something that we do want, rather than letting these wild horses drag us down the road. 6th foundation, contribution. True success is never just for us alone. If you have children, you know this. If you're raising a family, you know this. If you're married, you know this. If you're working for a company that you're impassioned about their vision, you know this. If you have your own business, you know this. True success is never just for us alone. As we embody balance, peace, and alignment, we naturally uplift the people around us. Our growth ripples outward. It strengthens our family bonds. We give back naturally to the community and even the planet itself. Contribution is the natural overflow of living into our highest potential. So those are the 6 foundations. If they resonated to you, I'm going to read these questions again. Is where are you leaning out of balance? Where could you invite more peace? And what might shift if you let these foundations support you, guide you, empower you? As you know, life has a way of testing us to see if we're really living what we say we value. Just recently, one of my larger clients asked me to take on a function, accountability work, tracking their KPIs for their coaches. And the moment he said it in the meeting, I felt myself contract. Inside, I was saying, nope, this is not aligned. That's not my value. That's not my skill set. Now, this wasn't an easy decision. Saying no could mean losing income. But within a couple of hours, as I did some inner wrestling with, I need to do it because it's important to them. No, I don't. Back and forth. You know the conversations, right? I communicated what was important and what was really the path that I wanted to, the service that I wanted to do for their organization, because I knew if I said yes, I would lose something much greater. I would lose my peace. And when I'm working with a client, I have to be 100% present, clear and aligned. I have to be aligned with their values too. Otherwise, it's not right for me or for them. So yes, peace is everything. That's why these foundations matter so deeply. They help us choose alignment even when it costs us something in the short term. Because what we gain in peace, in freedom, and in authenticity is priceless. So as I reflect on that fall, the concussion, and the months of healing that followed, I realized how much I had been living out of balance. And that's why these foundations I shared with you today matter so much. Because they aren't just lofty ideas. They're practical guides to bring us back to peace, clarity, and alignment with our truer self. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. I did a lot of inner work over these months as I was healing because I knew I could not continue in the way I was being and doing. It was breaking down my health. If what I've shared with you resonates and you'd like to go deeper, a wonderful next step is to read my book, Mindful Achiever. Mindful Achiever. You can find it on Amazon, Kindle and print. And in fact, I guide you through practical tools, stories. You get guided meditations. You get worksheets from it. It's like a little program for, I think, like $20. It's a wonderful value. And now these tools and stories will help you live from your highest potential without the constant striving and pushing that our culture is really encouraging. Because striving and pushing leads to burnout. But often we don't see the warning signs before we're burned out. So take this with you today. Balance isn't something to chase. It's something to hold sacred within yourself. You are balanced. You are peace. And when you do, everything else begins to align. Until next time, may you walk in balance, peace, and the freedom of your true self. I'll leave in the show notes how to get the Mindful Achiever. And as we close, remember, as you confirm yourself, you chart your own path to success. Thanks so much. Much love and many blessings. Thanks for listening.